At 3 o'clock in the night, the office was eerily quiet, and darkness spread like a tide, shrouding everything. Emily sat alone in front of the computer, her fingers tapping rapidly on the keyboard, and the codes on the screen kept appearing like snowflakes, like an endless cold digital rain. She had been working continuously for 36 hours, and the cup of coffee sitting aside had long since lost its heat, and the remaining liquid exuded a bitter smell, just like her mood at the moment, full of exhaustion and helplessness. Her temples were throbbing, and her vision became blurry. But she still stared at the screen tightly, with a stubbornness in her eyes. She knows that this program vulnerability must be fixed before dawn. Otherwise, the company will suffer huge losses of millions of dollars. This is not only related to her job, but also her only chance to prove her worth. Suddenly, a sharp pain struck like lightning. Emily's vision went dark, and her whole body fell forward uncontrollably. At the last moment of losing consciousness, she seemed to hear the sound of the monitor shattering. The sound was like the world she had been trying to maintain began to collapse. When Emily slowly opened her eyes again, she was greeted by a pale ceiling, and the pungent smell of disinfectant instantly filled her nostrils. The liquid in the 4 bottle was slowly flowing into her blood vessels drop by drop. She subconsciously wanted to raise her right hand, but found that her wrist was wrapped with a thick bandage. "You're awake?" The nurse opened the door gently and walked in with a hint of concern in her voice. "When your colleagues brought you here, the situation was very dangerous. Excessive fatigue caused arrhythmia, plus a cut on the wrist." The nurse's voice gradually faded away, but Emily's thoughts drifted back to that rainy night 10 years ago. That day, it rained heavily and my father's company went bankrupt. My mother took my sister and left home resolutely. From that moment on, her world completely collapsed. She secretly vowed to become the best programmer, earn a lot of money, and impress everyone. Over the years, she has been like a tireless machine, immersed in the world of code day and night, using code to weave layers of seemingly solid protective shells in an attempt to hide her fragility and pain. The TV in the ward was playing news. A technology company declared bankruptcy and its founder committed suicide by jumping off the building. Emily recognized that man. He was a well-known workaholic in the industry. Looking at the news footage, she suddenly felt suffocated, as if she saw another possible version of herself in that person, a version of herself that was completely swallowed up by work and pressure. After being discharged from the hospital, Emily took a long leave. She came to the lake where she and her father often went when she was a child. The lake water is still clear, the breeze blows, and the waves sparkle, reflecting the changing clouds in the sky. She sat quietly on the bench and looked at the fishermen in the distance. They stared at the buoy intently, with calm and serene expressions on their faces. They seemed not to catch fish, but to enjoy this rare tranquility. Emily opened the laptop, her fingers trembling slightly, and without hesitation she deleted the folder of projects that would never be completed. She began to organize the code libraries she had accumulated over the years, and shared them as open source without reservation with those who needed it. On the forum, she saw the confusion and anxiety of many young programmers. Those words were like a mirror, clearly reflecting her former self. She started running in the morning every day. In the park, she met Mark, who also loved running. Mark is a freelance photographer. His lens always captures the beautiful details in life that are easily overlooked. The crystal-clear dewdrops on the leaves in the morning, the coffee shop on the street corner filled with the aroma of coffee, and the cheerful figures of children chasing and playing in the sun. During her time with Mark, Emily gradually discovered that life was not just boring programming and endless work, but could also be so colorful and full of life. A year later, Emily founded a non-profit organization to help programmers suffering from burnout. She is no longer as obsessed with proving something to others as before, but has truly learned to enjoy the fun of programming itself. Sometimes, she can't help but think of the news she saw in the ward and the person who chose to end his career with his life. Now she finally understands that letting go does not mean giving up, but a clear choice to let herself see clearly what is truly important in life, just like a fisherman on the lake. What matters is not how many fish he catches in the end, but that he finds the long-lost peace and tranquility deep in his heart during the fishing process. Emily looked at the program code jumping on the computer screen, and a faint smile appeared on the corner of her mouth unconsciously. At this moment, these codes are no longer the shackles that bind her, but have become a bridge to infinite possibilities, leading her to a new life.